What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pinfalls and Playbooks podcast, episode number 29. As always, I'm your host, Faiz Kabir, alongside my co-host, Fardin. And guys, we're doing a virtual episode this week. So in New York City, we just hit our snowstorm. We're basically snowed in, so that doesn't stop the podcast. So because we got a lot of things to talk about. We got WWE on the recap side, Saturday night's main event, Raw, and we're on the cusp of Royal Rumble. In terms of sports, NFL. We got our championship games done, and it's time for the Super Bowl, our two favorite NBA games. And we also got some little bit of MLB news. And this week, we got two really good sideline heel takes that we want to dive right into. And we'll talk about it all here on this week's podcast episode. All right, guys, first we're going to start off with our WWE recap. And first things first, we're going to get Saturday night's main event right out the window because it was already a little bit a while ago. But we want to talk about it and recap it real quick. So first up, we had Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu to start off the show. And this match really never even started. We had Fatu come out first. And after that, it was followed by Cody. And in the middle of Cody doing his entrance, Fatu attacked him. And these guys just started brawling all over the place. I figured this was going to happen because you have two guys who are really built up, and you don't want to pin either one of them at this point. So at this point, it was just like, okay, we knew that this was not going to be a no contest. And eventually, Drew McIntyre came out and ended up taking out both guys at this point. So it's looking like it might possibly be a three-way.
Yeah, this kind of just it's probably going to be a night one WrestleMania main event. I feel like WWE did a great part, I guess, not keeping Randy Orton there, but we don't know because he's still gunning for the title. And at this point, I don't see how he's not going to be tied into it because we're not going to see a WrestleMania with Randy Orton. Kind of just doesn't make sense to me at this point.
Yeah, but you never know. He could be challenging for it at the Chamber. So there's a lot of other possibilities that's still going on. But next up, we had Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez. These girls put on a really good match. And honestly, it was just a lot of, at the end of the match, it started getting a little turmoil where we had Raquel Rodriguez interfere, and then it led to Stephanie Becerra, who looks like she's cleared now and going to be taking on Raquel Rodriguez at this point, just pretty much getting rid of her. And that ended up having Rhea and Io picking up the win over these two.
Yeah, I feel like, I know I said that there was going to be a point where, I remember last week I said that Rhea and Io were going to lose to Liv and Roxanne. But I guess not. I don't know what WWE has planned in terms of Rhea and Io facing each other because we still deserve that match. So at the end of the day, maybe they'll lose it. They're not scheduled for the Royal Rumble. I don't believe so. But
they're in the Rumble.
Oh, they're all in the Rumble.
All these women are all in the Rumble. They don't have enough women to not put these in the Rumble. Are you crazy?
That's true. So maybe there's like some cause and effect with them winning. Maybe there's a possible one of them is going to eliminate the other. We don't know. So it's a good telltale sign from WWE to be like, all right, let's have them keep the titles for now.
Yeah. And then next up we had AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now this match was impromptu made on the Friday before, and it's pretty much leading to what people honestly think is probably AJ's last run right now because they're getting all these matches done out of the way, and this was one big match that a lot of people was one of the reasons why AJ Styles and Nakamura actually both came to the company in 2016. And this was both they had their last match back in New Japan. So they did have a feud and they even had a WrestleMania match, but it wasn't any really good at all. From what I remember from that feud at that time, it was just a lot of dick shots.
Yeah, everything was just, in my opinion, kind of also went rushed a little bit because they didn't really have that many promo battles leading up to it. Obviously, Shinsuke won the Royal Rumble that year, so now it's like, well, they had a good, solid match, and I feel like this is something that they've done throughout their whole entire careers.
Yeah, so this match was great. It was excellent. Like, it wasn't as really good. It was the best match they had in WWE together by far, but it wasn't as good as their New Japan match because that's all considered like one of a great classic. But this match was a love letter to that match. They had a bunch of moves and a bunch of signs that all followed that entire Wrestle Kingdom match. But AJ ended up picking up the win, and he's carrying that momentum going into against Gunther at the Royal Rumble. Yeah. And lastly, we had the Fatal 4-Way match. So I'll let you talk about this Fatal 4-Way match because it was, in my opinion, it was already like a no-brainer that Sami Zayn was going to win this. But
yeah, it was in Montreal, and obviously the Royal Rumble is in Saudi Arabia, so if it kind of just ties in Montreal into Saudi Arabia, Sami Zayn. It just made sense for him to win. I feel like everybody had a great, solid match. Damian Priest had his moment. Randy Orton had his moment. But Trick Williams, I think, kind of stole the show in this match, in my opinion, as well. And he's just an up-and-coming superstar. But at the end of the day, it is going to be Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, I feel like Randy Orton should have won it. But that's just me. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't know. It's just, in my opinion, let Sammy get it. I feel like it just makes sense because you want him on the show at Saudi, and obviously, if you want him in the show at Saudi, you would need to put him in the Rumble, and he's probably not. He wasn't going to win that Rumble based on the way that they built him. So, and he was had this storyline with Drew McIntyre that he's been kind of going back and forth with this for a few weeks. So it was just kind of bound to happen at this point. I'm fine with it. Sammy's going to go to Saudi against Drew McIntyre. They're going to put on a good match, and we all know that. I'm pretty sure that Drew McIntyre is going to win that match anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about a couple. Yeah.
But next up, that goes right into our Raw recap. Raw this week was pretty much a really much of a filler show. It was just there was nothing crazy on this show. There was
last
nothing
show
very
before the
interesting.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and it started off the show with AJ Styles coming out and just doing a promo, just going against Gunther, how people doubt him and how he believes in himself. And then it led to CM Punk coming out, and eventually it led to these guys having a main event match. And it was bound to happen because actually during their European tour when they were doing all those live shows, AJ and Punk were kind of working with each other a lot too. So it was a familiarity, and these guys actually ended up main eventing the show.
Yeah, I know AJ Styles. We don't know if it's this Saturday is going to be his last hurrah, so to speak. But I know CM Punk, he's going to be that fighting champion that he has been pretty much throughout the last few months. And giving AJ Styles that opportunity, it just made sense for him to get that one last opportunity. Because obviously, if this was AJ Styles, if he's going to win at the Rumble, that's one thing. But we don't know. Anything is possible at this point.
Yeah, but at this point, we're going to see what's going on with that match because it's just in that match, it was obvious that we knew like Punk's not going to lose that title right now.
At least not this way, in this moment.
No. And then throughout the show, we had some few backstage promos. One of the interesting ones was Punk was talking to Finn Balor backstage about pretty much saying, you know, it's time for you to like make your own legacy if you want to lead the Judgment Day. And throughout the show, it was kind of hinting at, okay, is Balor leading towards a face turn? But that kind of didn't play out the way we thought. But next up, we had The Vision come out. And The Vision came out, and honestly, this was pretty much like, I thought this was going to be more story to it, but Adam Pearce came out and really did nothing.
Yeah, he kind of just was like, yo, I'm sorry for putting my hands on you. I was the one that did it first. Braun Breaker, he was on suspension for the last couple of weeks because of like what he did a few weeks ago. And kind of just apologized to him, saying like, yeah, I shouldn't have done it. I'm going to reinstate you. All of you guys are going to be at the Royal Rumble. And it's like how Triple H used to say, it's best for business. And it really is best for business to have them all back there.
No, I get that, but like I feel like he should have added a caveat to it. Like, for example, one of my things that I thought he was going to do, he's like, oh, well, I'll reinstate you, Braun, and you could be in the Rumble, but you're starting at number 1. Like, do something like that.
I was actually, like, when I was watching, I was like, yo, he's got to say something like that because it kind of just makes sense. Like, if you want to prove you're the guy, do something like that. Win it from the first pick.
Exactly. And he kind of, like, it just made Adam Pearce look like pretty much a bitch in this whole situation because it's just like, okay, you have the authority and you reinstated him, but you didn't do anything with it. You just put all of them in the Rumble and you didn't even end up like doing anything.
I feel like one of them is gonna be number 1. Probably Austin Theory because I know he has the capabilities to endure that long of a match if he is there for that long. Obviously, we don't know, but they're all gonna be in it. That's already 4 spots taken right there.
Yeah. Majority of the Rumbles already pretty much announced, and that was another thing that's throughout the show where they announced 2 other people. Obafemi was announced for the Rumble, even though that was obvious at this point. And then, then we got Mr. Commercial at this point, which is kind of pissing me off because he's on every fucking commercial, and I don't know why he's not shown on TV. Javon Evans, again, was shown during a commercial break, and I don't get why a person like him is on commercial. When you know he's going to be your star for the next few years, he should not be on the commercial, and that's where he announced he's going to be in the Rumble match.
Do you think that the WWE is like hinting that they're not believing in him? I don't know, man.
No, they have to because of all the spots they put him in because he's not just working in Raw. He's doing AAA. He's doing a bunch of other shit. So they do believe in and trust him. He's doing a lot of work for them. But it's just I don't get why he's not on TV like that and why he's during the commercial breaks. I feel like that's the last thing he should be a part of. But
true.
If they can carry him and having a big performance in the Rumble, because you know what they say, he is that guy. That guy is bouncy. So I see him having some.
He's another guy who could say like, yeah, he's him.
Yeah, he's gonna have a good. I think he's gonna have a really good performance at the Rumble. So he's definitely gonna has to show out there, and that's where he's gonna catch even more eyes. Next up, we had a Gunther promo where it was
This
a
was a
backstage
funny
segment with
promo. This was a very funny promo.
he ended up bullying Michael Cole pretty much this entire promo. And Gunther, he played exactly what he did. He played a chicken shit heel where he was just at the highest level of a heel he could be. He was just saying that he was basically saying that people want AJ to see him go through his retirement run. He doesn't. He's ready to retire him and put him into the past. And that's pretty much the story. And it led him to just bullying Michael Cole for a little bit, saying he could take him out right now too.
Yeah,
Which is
like
pretty funny.
how you guys do that? Especially since he actually did kind of bully Michael Cole when he had that whole thing going on with Pat McAfee. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
You already know that Gunther doesn't like Michael Cole at this
Yeah,
point. So it was just at this point you could see Michael Cole was just taking deep breaths and sighs,
yeah,
like,
it's
oh
like
god,
that
I gotta go
dog
deal
meme
with
where he's just like,
this. He's like, am I ready to retire tonight? Is Gunther
yeah,
gonna put me out of my misery? That's what it looked like. And then we actually had a fatal four-way for a tag team match where it was going to be who's going to be facing the Usos, I believe on Raw after Royal Rumble, so in Philadelphia, I think. But it's ended up being the Alpha Academy who actually picked up a win. Akira Tozawa actually got a pin on someone. I don't know when the last time Akira Tozawa pinned anybody, but he ended up picking up a pinfall win.
I'm glad they got this push because obviously they've been more like that comedic thing. Nobody's really taking them seriously. So this is that opportunity for them to be like, okay, fine. This is our moment. We're going up against possibly the greatest tag team of all time in some people's eyes. So let's just see what we could do. And it's a good move by WWE, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. I think these guys can definitely put on a good match with the Usos because the Usos they're really good together. And then Akira Tozawa and Otis, I think they have good chemistry where they can make a tag team match interesting. And then last up, we had the main event, which was AJ Styles versus CM Punk. And in my idea, I thought this match was going to be really, really good because you had AJ Styles just coming off a really, really good match with Shinsuke Nakamura, and Punk came off a really, really good match with Finn Balor. And I don't know, in this match, these two just their age really showed in this, and their chemistry didn't look really that good. There was a lot of botches in this match
Have they fought
where
before? Like,
they fought. This is the first time they fought in WWE. So
mm,
they fought in the independent scenes when they were both on the independents back then. But this is the first time they ever fought in WWE, and it just honestly there was a lot of spots that just looked missed. CM Punk looked really slow out there. AJ Styles looked really quick for him, and that kind of hindered the match because if one person's at another pace with the other guys kind of having to match with them, it just ends up not looking great. And this match ended up being solid towards the end as we got some good finishers and we got some good kickouts at the end where I think Punk hit a GTS on AJ Styles on the outside, which led to AJ trying to climb back into the ring to make the final 10 count. AJ Styles hit a Styles clash, Punk kicked out, and it ended up leading to what we thought was going to be an actual winner, but it did ended up happening was Finn Balor ended up coming back out to attack CM Punk and pretty much putting that face heel to bed for now, right now, because it was just CM Punk was pretty much hinting at Finn Balor, what does your legacy want to be? What do you want to do with your career going forward? And Balor decided that he's going to take things into his own hand and continue to attack CM Punk and try to go for that championship again. So it looks like these two aren't done. I don't know when they're going to have another match again. Probably it might be another Raw match at this point because I don't really see them fitting this into any of these upcoming PLEs coming up. So
yeah,
let's see
I
how
feel
it
like
goes.
the push for Finn Balor, it never really was there ever since like COVID hit. Obviously, he had a good match against Roman Reigns for the undisputed title, like in 2021, I believe. But overall, like ever since he joined the Judgment Day, he just never really had a moment to himself. I know he fought for the tag team titles with JD McDonough, with Dominic Mysterio, which we haven't seen yet, probably at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, most likely.
But it's a good thing that they're giving him this, I guess, stage of opportunity, so to speak, because he has the talent and he has the skill. Obviously, people always questioned his mic skills, which is true. In fact, he doesn't have the great mic skills as other people have. But at the end of the day, let the kid roll. Like, he's still young, and I don't see why he doesn't deserve an opportunity.
Well, I wouldn't say he's young. He's in the Punk and AJ Styles age range. He's like 45 plus, bro.
What? I thought
And
he was like in his like mid to late
no,
30s.
Finn Balor's been doing this for a very long time.
Oh
He's been on
wow.
the independents in New Japan for a very long time. So he's been doing this for a while. He just keeps himself in better shape than most people at his age. Like he's fucking shredded at his age.
Probably
So
all those weed that he smokes.
he'd be working out, and that's the way he does it. But honestly, like Finn Balor, yeah, like it's either a chance for him to pretty much get another title shot eventually and pretty much try to get towards that title picture again. But I don't know. I feel like in WWE he just hit that ceiling. I don't think he's ever going to get to that title again. I think he's going to be a good opponent and good people for him to work with. But I don't know. We'll see because when he also went back to NXT in between, and he won the NXT Championship
Yeah,
again.
I remember.
So
Yeah.
like he had a good run in NXT where he was facing a lot of guys and having some really good matches there. And he said he really enjoyed that time. So it's kind of for me like it looks like he's also that type where he's dwindling down towards the end of his career and he's trying to get these big matches out of the way. So because a lot of these guys they're all in the same age group, Punk, Cena, Balor, Styles, they're all like in the same age group. So it makes sense that these guys looks like they're kind of getting to their closer to their end. So we'll see how it goes for Balor. I feel like Balor definitely has a few more years in him before that even happens. But let's see how it goes with that storyline and see how it plays out with Punk and Balor. But we're gonna jump right into what Royal Rumble predictions. So Royal Rumble is this Saturday in the East Coast. It's starting at 2 p.m. and this is gonna be based in Saudi Arabia. So this is going to be a women's. So first off, we're going to start with the women's Royal Rumble. So the women's Royal Rumble, 30 women, of course, and all of these women, you got to have some creative outfits because one, you're not showing any skin out there. So you're going to have to put up some leotards. You're going to have to put some definitely the seamstresses and the costume designers for WWE. They're going to have their work cut out for these women, for those 30 women that are in this Rumble. But let's talk about our predictions and who we think we're going to be our winners and our dark horse part. I'll let you go first. Who you think is going to be your dark horse and then your winner?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with my dark horse first. Dark horse, excuse me. I'm gonna roll with Liv Morgan as my dark horse winner. I feel like she kind of hasn't really done much. She's been in the tag team scene. Obviously, they built up this women's tag team division for the last couple of months because of Rhea Ripley, Io Sky. Obviously, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, they were champions for a little bit. Now
Right.
Rhea and Io are champions. And I don't see her being this tag team persona for long, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But at the end of the day, she kind of just deserves that opportunity to win the Royal Rumble. We know that Stephanie Vaquer, she's probably not going to lose the title as of yet. Maybe at WrestleMania. And who's the other champion again? I'm sorry.
Jade Cargill.
Jade Cargill, yeah. And we'll get to my winner, who I think will face Jade Cargill at WrestleMania, which is Bianca Belair. We haven't seen her on TV since I believe last WrestleMania. No, she's been
last
out for like
WrestleMania.
8 months, and she's going to be the returning superstar that everybody's probably going to want to see. And we don't know what she has in store for us. She's probably the biggest or one of the biggest women's wrestlers right now. Obviously, we have Rhea Ripley, we have Io Sky. But it was then 3 at WrestleMania last year. It was a triple threat match. So in my opinion, I think it just makes sense for Bianca Belair to win. She has a lot going for her. And everybody wants, I wouldn't say everybody, but I know people want to see that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair match at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So those are obviously good picks. For me, dark horse, I'm gonna go with someone that's been absent for a while as well. It's Tiffany Stratton. And I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton because obviously she's been gone for a while on TV, and I feel like WWE still has a lot of promise and feels like she's one of the top stars in WWE. Because remember, think about it. Last year, she barely lost. She only lost 2 matches in the entire year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of promise to Tiffany Stratton, especially with her coming back. I think there's going to be a good pop for it as well because you haven't seen somebody for a while. People get excited for a bit, and the reason why I think she's a possible winner is because I think if she wins, I think she would switch over to the Raw brand and pick Stephanie Vaquer because that's the one person that she lost to. And I could see them doing a storyline where Tiffany Stratton is obsessed with trying to beat Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah,
because remember when they had that one match. So
yeah,
that's why I feel like if they want to go that route, a little bit more less unexpected, Tiffany Stratton would be a good dark horse. But I'm gonna agree with you for winner. Honestly, Bianca Belair seems like the clear winner at this point because one, she's been gone forever. They need her back really, really badly because there's no really real opponent for Jade Cargill on the SmackDown's women's side. And I know WWE wants to do that match because it's Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, two of the most physically gifted women on the women's roster. And having that match is obviously this match was planted seeds a while ago before she was even hurt. So when the stuff was going on with Naomi and those 3 girls were all kind of like going at it. So I think this match definitely is going to happen. I'm going to roll with Bianca Belair with this. But let's go off to next up. We got AJ Styles versus Gunther, career-threatening match for AJ Styles. Now, I don't know. I'm very up and down with this match because there's a lot of talks with AJ Styles saying that he wants to still do a lot of things where he's talking about it like in a third person where he wants to still fight a lot of other opponents. In TNA, I know that he's hinting at that he wants to do another match there. Even during one of the backstage segments, we had Javon Evans go up to AJ Styles and say he wants to face him before he retires. So like, there's hints at them showing that AJ Styles wants to stick around and wants to be around, but is WWE going to be the buzzkill and have Gunther just put him away for his misery at this very moment right now? And I don't know. I'm really back and forth on this, but I think Gunther is going to retire AJ Styles. And I think Gunther is going to end up beating AJ Styles again, even though technically Gunther didn't really win the first time because AJ Styles really pretty much tapped him out, but the refs didn't see it. I think this is going to be this is probably the most unpredictable match on the card. But I think Gunther wins this because AJ Styles, I think he's done everything he needs to do in the business, in my opinion. If he wants to keep going, he can. But if he truly feels like this is the end for him, then this is the great way to go out is to, I guess, to Gunther. In Saudi Arabia, maybe not. That's the way he can picture it. But the only other way I see this other way I see AJ Styles winning this is if Gunther does something to get disqualified. And that technically means AJ wins and this continues for another feud going into WrestleMania maybe. And that's the only way I see it. Maybe you could try to prolong this towards WrestleMania. Because think about it, like everybody wants to retire at WrestleMania. Like that's pretty much a big goal that you want to have. But that's the only way I see AJ Styles winning is if Gunther DQs it or Gunther does something to cheat, ref catches him and disqualifies him, and AJ Styles wins. But I'm gonna roll with Gunther if this is a clean match.
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth in terms of how AJ Styles would hypothetically win. Um, that being said, I'm gonna roll with AJ Styles anyways. I just love him for him to not go out like this after the year just started. And obviously, I'm not saying he's not a bigger or like as big of a superstar as John Cena was and not deserving of like a quote unquote retirement tour. But he deserves to go out. Like there's still matches that we haven't seen from him. He's obviously now more into that solo persona. Obviously, he had that tag team with Dragon Lee. Now they're no longer champs.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should give him another, at least potentially till summertime, or SummerSlam rather.
Yeah.
Like put him in the Intercontinental US title mid card because we know that he's not going to be in the world title picture anytime soon or at all for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
So it kind of just didn't make sense for him to win this match, move on to bigger things. Maybe have a third, like you said, a third match with Gunther, assuming that this doesn't end in a clean match. But outside of that, I don't see why he shouldn't win. Like, if this is it, like I get it, it's going to be his 10th year anniversary since he's debuted at WWE, like at the Royal Rumble when he did. And, in that retrospect, it kind of does make sense for this to be his last match, but I can't see him going like this. So I'm going to roll with AJ Styles on this one.
All right. And next up we have is Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. So in my opinion, I think this is going to be a wash by Drew McIntyre. I don't think Sami Zayn is going to win this match. I think he's going to do a really good job of trying to rally the crowd and try to get it behind them and have some good close near falls. But overall, Drew McIntyre wins this match, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something very bold right now. If Sami Zayn wins this match, I'm going to take off my shirt, run across the street with no shirt in this brick-ass New York City weather. Because there's no way that Sami Zayn should win this. Now, we don't know. It's a major, massive shakeup if he does win this. But in hindsight, the bigger picture, Drew McIntyre should win this, and I feel like he is going to win this.
Yeah, and then that leads right into the Royal Rumble match. So the Royal Rumble match, we got a lot of people rumored to be in this match this year. There's a lot of confirmed people already. One of the big names that are rumored to come back is is Chris Jericho. He's been signed for a long time, apparently, and it looks like he could debut any moment. He could honestly debut right after Raw, like the Royal Rumble after Raw if he's not at the Rumble. I expect him at the Rumble. If he's not at the Rumble, then I expect him on Raw. Like he's here. He has to be here in one of these two shows.
I need to hear the Break the Walls Down theme song come out at the Royal Rumble. I will go into a frenzy if that happens.
It could. honestly, the funny thing is, it could either be that song or it could be that song he's been using for his own album. Like he's been doing it in
Oh,
AEW for
from the
forever.
Fozzy
His
album.
Judas song, his Fozzy song. It's called Judas. The entire crowd always sings to that song all the time. It's a pretty good song too. So I could definitely see that song he could come out to because he's kind of a changed character now. He's not really that break the walls down old Chris Jericho Y2J anymore. So I can see him coming out to that. Another one is a lot of people are rumored is Royce Keys now. He used to be known as Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW. He's signed, so he already got a new name, and it looks like he might also be making an appearance at the Rumble. He might be a huge factor going into Mania season 2. So we'll see how that goes. But let's go with our dark horses and our winners. So I'll go first for mine. For dark horse, I think I'm gonna roll with Obafemi. And I'm gonna roll with Obafemi as a dark horse because the way that WWE builds him up and the way that he gets so much exposure, if you really want to build a star and you really want to make a name, I think that's the way to go. You make him win the win the Royal Rumble. You let him face Drew McIntyre maybe at WrestleMania because there's a little bit of history right there where Drew McIntyre got involved in their match with Cody and Oba, and you had a little bit of stare down.
Do you think he's ready to make that jump?
I think he's ready. I think he might be more ready than Braun Breaker in my opinion. And it's crazy to say that because those two guys are monsters. And I think Obafemi for doing this for only 3 years, coming from being a shot put champion to picking up wrestling, he's a monster. And I don't see many people above him. And the only other thing I could say about him is if he doesn't win the Rumble, where most likely he might not, I think he eliminates Brock Lesnar, and that's a match you do at WrestleMania, and that's a big time match for someone like Obafemi to have, because you let Brock go into there with him, and let these two guys have at it. But for my winner, I'm gonna roll with Roman Reigns, the OTC, because I think obviously a lot of people are gonna be like, dude, what's going on? He hasn't been on TV for almost months. Like he's gonna just show up and win the Rumble. Yeah, I can see it because one, he's in Saudi Arabia. They love him. They love him. They love Roman Reigns. I'll tell you that much. And honestly, if you want to do that storyline, you could do Roman Reigns and CM Punk. That's a one-on-one match that we still haven't gotten.
True.
So these two, you already know, like there's something there between them. There's some type of chemistry that I know is going to be really good when these two fight. And if you give them that one-on-one without Seth Rollins not being in that picture, because if you did have that match with Seth Rollins added, now you have Roman Reigns and Punk. I can see that being a night 2 WrestleMania match or a night 1 main event because those are two massive stars with massive followings. And I don't know. Let's see how it goes. But that's who I think is going to win the Rumble. And I'll let you go with your dark horse and your winner.
Yeah. So my dark horse actually changed in the last 24 hours because of what happened yesterday. So my dark horse is Finn Balor. I feel like if he is really getting this push, have him win the Royal Rumble, have him fight CM Punk again because they put on a good match in Ireland, and although it was a clean match, there was no involvement from anybody really. Why not give him that last opportunity? Obviously, like you said before, his age is coming to him, but he still has the capabilities to do a WrestleMania main event, and he has the following, he has the skill set. Just needs to fix up his skills on the mic, and I feel like it just makes sense for him to possibly win the Royal Rumble. Will he?
See, no. I don't know. At that point, if Balor wins, if he does a WrestleMania main event, you have to bring the Demon out for the WrestleMania main event. 100%. That you have to bring him out at that point.
Yeah. With my winner, I'm gonna roll with Braun Breaker. I feel like it's too good for him to not win it. Now, in my opinion, I think this is the most unpredictable Royal Rumble that we've had in a while. Because obviously last year we thought that John Cena, because it was going to be his last year, he was going to win it, but Jey Uso ended up winning it. And this year we don't know because Drew McIntyre is champ and CM Punk is champ. Obviously Seth Rollins' injury kind of played a hand to this, where
right.
We don't know what would have happened if Seth Rollins was champ and Drew McIntyre being champ. I don't know. I feel like, in my opinion, that's like a diamond in the rough, so to speak, because I wasn't expecting him to be champ this quick or beat Cody Rhodes right away. And I thought Cody Rhodes is going to be the undisputed champ going into WrestleMania season, and he ended up losing the title. So for Braun Breaker, if he's this next big thing, which people have made it seem like he is, he should win the Royal Rumble, and he should go up against CM Punk. It's probably going to be the main event for one of the nights, regardless.
Got to be night one. You can't.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a night two main event in
No,
my
no, no.
opinion.
And that's going to obviously raise some questions whether who would win the Elimination Chamber, but we'll get there when we get there. But as of right now, my dark horse would be Finn Balor, but I'm going to roll with Braun Breaker winning this. I feel like the last two is going to be Braun and Roman because of the history that they've had the last few months, or like the last half year, so to speak. And he's going to end up probably throwing him out. It's going to be Braun and Roman at the end of the show.
Yeah, that's a good final two to have.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps up our Royal Rumble predictions and our WWE recap at this point. So we're gonna be covering it all here in our next show. And at this point, it's just straight up after this Rumble, it's a straight kickstart to Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania season. And this is where it gets interesting. This is where WWE always does its best, where they create their stories, they create exactly what they need to do to build that hype into these big shows heading in to WrestleMania time. But that kind of sums up our WWE recap for this week. All right, guys, now it's time to get into our sports recap for this week. And first things first, NFL, baby. And we're coming off our championship games. And first things first, we're going to talk about the AFC Championship. And this was a game where it was a lot of defense, a lot of divine intervention, a lot of factors played into this game. Let's start off with, obviously, the New England Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl. They won this game 10-7. And this game was a super heavy defensive game at this point. People thought, and the game started off in a big way where the Broncos had a big first run where they threw a big touchdown pass. Jarrett Stidham threw it to, I believe, Cortland Sutton.
Yep.
Right? So at that point, a lot of people were like, oh, crap, is Stiddy really going to run the show and try to get these Broncos into this system where they can flow on the offensive side and let their defense carry them? That is exactly did not happen because that's the last thing that the Broncos did anything the entire game.
Yeah, like they didn't even move the ball down the field. They ran the same plays. Obviously, people are questioning that crucial fourth and one call where
4th and 1, yeah.
Like they should have kicked the field goal, but they didn't. But why not? It's an aggressive move. They were up at the time, and it kind of just made sense for Sean Payton. Obviously, they were questioning his decision making, but why not? You have a backup quarterback. In hindsight, the Broncos, they were playing for nothing. Like they didn't really have it. Obviously, they have everything to gain by going to the Super Bowl, but without their starting quarterback, just give them the opportunity and see what happens. And they didn't.
Right. So I don't agree with the criticism with Sean Payton. Like not why he going for it on 4th and 1. Like it's the playoffs. You want to get your best chance to get it. You're 4th and 1. You're in the opponent's already red zone. Try to go for it, and you failed because the Patriots defense, they played really well the entire game. They stepped up. And one thing I want to bring up real quick about the Patriots is, remember, this is not our defensive coordinator that we started this year with. Our defensive coordinator was Terrell Williams. And Terrell Williams went out in the first few weeks because he went down with prostate cancer. Yeah. This is our backup. This is our, basically one of the assistant defensive coaches, Zach Kerr, who stepped up. He knows his plays. He knows Terrell Williams' plays. He studied it. He's basically a defensive guru. Guru is what people have been calling him for all season long. And that's exactly what the Patriots did. They played defense, and they played enough to win this game. They basically got the lead, and they held on to it because they knew, and they challenged the Broncos on the offense, knowing that they can't do anything on the offense, and let's see how they goes. Because the thing with the Patriots is, yes, our offense is very questionable because of Drake May's play, and our offensive line has been very terrible this entire playoff run. Will Campbell's been getting beat every game, and that's not a sight to see because one thing I do want to commend on the Patriots is we got to the playoffs. We got to the Super Bowl by beating 3 out of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. And now we're going into the Super Bowl to play the number 1 defense in the NFL. So there's a lot of criticism about the Patriots, obviously, because getting into this game. But in the playoffs, they did enough to win these games because you're playing top defenses in the NFL. I don't want to hear any excuses because you have top 5 NFL defenses. We played 3 of them. We're about to play a 4th one in the Super Bowl. And we keep winning games. And my question is, why are they not stopping the Patriots? And how are they getting the ability to go? And one of the big things about this game is Stidham, he had a fumble, stupid throw. I don't know what he was trying to do and what he was trying to do at this point. But guess what? The Patriots they take advantage of turnovers like that every game. Every game we basically made all these quarterbacks look silly. And that's exactly what they did. Every quarterback that we played so far in the playoffs, they all had stupid mental plays that led the Patriots to get the ball on our side and score. And Drake May had a rushing touchdown. And that was the story of this game. Drake May had a bunch of rushes to get us the first downs. And that's pretty much how he closed this game off. He got a rushing first down. We had Broncos who they basically had one more chance to score and try to put up points, but they couldn't. Jarrett Stidham threw up a deep ball to nobody. Gonzo picked it off like nothing. And Drake May ran to first down to seal this game off, and the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I feel like the Broncos, they kind of just they couldn't do anything offensively, and I know the Patriots because of that fumble that Stidham had. That was their only touchdown of the game, and at the end of the day, they did enough. Obviously, the weather was a fact. It just snowed like crazy out of nowhere.
Everyone had missed field goals. We had Broncos with two
Yeah,
missed fields,
they
and the
had
Patriots
missed
with
field
two
goals.
missed.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, I guess, things that happened that didn't go the Broncos' way, but there was also things that didn't go the Patriots' way. But at the end of the day, when you make the stupid mistakes that Jarrett Stidham did, whether it was that fumble or just randomly just throwing it up, not knowing his receivers are not going to come down with it, it backfires on you. And it led to the Broncos not being able to win.
Exactly.
And they had opportunities. They definitely did have their opportunities. But when you can't capitalize on those opportunities, it turns out you won't win a football game at the end of the day.
And we talk about this all the time. You're never going to win a playoff game, especially in these playoffs and with all these talented teams, if you have more turnovers. And guess what? The Patriots had 0, Broncos had 2. And that's the end of the game. That's the end of the story at this point. So the Patriots now move on to the Super Bowl. And now we get into the NFC Championship game where they're going to be playing their opponents, which is the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, so this was a probably one of the best games of the year in my opinion. The Seahawks, they pulled it out 31-27, and the Seahawks, I guess the biggest question coming into this game was how Sam Darnold was going to play throughout this whole entire game. And collectively, they fired on all cylinders. We had a big game from JSN and Kenneth Walker. He was running the ball like a madman out there. He was making defenders miss left and right, had a crazy juke move to go in and out. And Sam Darnold pretty much silenced all his doubters. He had 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he was full control of the offense. And he basically was like, yo, I'm going to put the team on my back, even with an oblique injury, and I'm going to just carry my team to the Super Bowl. And what I love about this is the fact that at the end of the game, he didn't really show any, like, true enthusiasm. He was just happy to be there at this point. Like that's how Sam Darnold really was. Obviously, we didn't see that earlier on in his career. The systems that he played in, they failed him, and now he found a home. Like last year when he was on the Vikings, he won the same amount of games, but he kind of just froze in the moment. Now he realized what he needed to do, and he definitely showed up in this game. And he needed to show up because this was the Super Bowl on the line at the end of the day. As far as the Rams go, they did what they could. They have one of the best offenses in the league. Puka Nacua had a crazy touchdown at the end of the game, but there were crucial muff punts from them, unnecessary taunting penalties, high-powered offense going at it, crazy catches, and this game had it all. But the Seahawks, they were the better team in this one, well, better coached, and they did the job. And now they're going to the Super Bowl, and we got a Super Bowl rematch from 2015, I believe, no, 2014, right?
No, 2015. It's been 11 years. So.
2015, yeah, and I couldn't see it any better at this point, especially with the teams that were remaining in the playoffs. Obviously, we don't have Patrick Mahomes, Lone Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen got out earlier on. Now we have 2 new teams, and I'm pretty excited for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting Super Bowl in my opinion. We're going to give our predictions next week because we obviously have a week in between. But just rough like thoughts on the Super Bowl real quick is. I think this game is going to be very interesting on the offense and defensive side because we got 2 top defenses in my opinion. I think these are the 2 best defenses in the NFL. Like no, in my opinion, because the Patriots, I think they solidified that they're the second best defense in the NFL because they took out all the other defenses going into the damn playoffs. So because you beat the Chargers were considered a top defense. Look what we made them do. The Texans were considered top defense. They didn't win. We beat them out. And then you had the Broncos. These are all top 5 defenses. We took them all out. And now we're going in to play the number 1 defense in the NFL. And I know a lot of people are saying, okay, the Patriots, this is very it's a very divine intervention way to get to the Super Bowl. And there's a lot of things that do factor into it. But guess what? If you're going on a playoff run like this, you're winning your games and you're taking out top 5 defenses in the NFL. I don't know how else can you argue it if they do win the Super Bowl? Because, like you said, people always said it from day one: defensive wins games. And if our Patriots defense are delivering at the end of every game versus everyone else, they're the best defense. So I think this game is going to be predicated on defense, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a super defensive game. I don't think there's going to be that many high scoring plays in this. That's my first initial thoughts. I think it's going to be crazy defensive.
I think it's going to come down to how it was for the Rams and Seahawks game, where can Sam Darnold play well against his defense? Obviously, the Rams, they don't have the same defense as the Patriots. And we know that obviously the last time he did play the Patriots, he was saying, "Oh, I saw ghosts out there." Will he see ghosts in this one? We don't know because he has a much better team, a better coach, and there's no reason for him to not play well. And at the end of the day, this is going to come down to which team or which quarterback will make the right decisions to lead his team moving forward. So is it going to be Drake May, who a lot of people have questioned the capabilities because of the teams that he has played, what he's been endured to, and obviously in this playoffs, the offense they didn't really haven't really clicked in this whole playoffs, to be honest with you. But they obviously get the job done when it matters the most. Now, this is his true test. Obviously, we said the same thing when he played the Texans, and he did struggle against the Texans. Now you're going up against the Seahawks, and there's a lot of dogs on that team. And at the end of the day, for Sam Darnold, what's going to happen is can he rise to the occasion once again, put his team on his back? Because he has the playmakers. So there's no reason, like I said, for him not to play well. And we'll obviously discuss it next week as well.
Yeah. But that kind of sums up our NFL recap for this week. All right, guys. Now it's time to get into our NBA recap for this week, and we're going to talk about our top 2 games. And Fardin, I'll let you go first with your first 2.
Yeah, so the first game I want to talk about is the Rockets versus 76ers. The Sixers won this game 125 to 122. This was a vintage Joel Embiid game who surprisingly has been playing a lot better. And when he plays better, the team plays better. Maxey, he had a big game because he needed to have a big game because he was struggling long before this. I believe he was averaging like 15 points. So he definitely needs to show out against a top contending team like the Rockets. And the return of Kelly Oubre definitely makes the team better. It gives more sustenance to that team. Obviously, Paul George, he hasn't really been playing well. Paul George is a bum in my opinion, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Rockets, they need point guard help. Kevin Durant can't really carry the load. Alperen Sengun, I know he's been hurt the last month or so, but he's definitely back. Yeah. He needs to get himself acclimated to the team. But the Rockets, they don't have a point guard, and that's their Achilles heel at this point. The trade deadline's coming soon, but they need to do something. But that's the first game. The second game I want to talk about is a game that I actually went to, which is the Celtics and the Nets. And the Celtics won this game 130 to 126 in double overtime. And in my opinion, this is the best game I've ever been to. And I'm not saying this because this is the Celtics, but because of what happened. And what happened was the Celtics, in my opinion, they kind of just downplayed the Nets this whole entire game.
This game should have been a blowout.
I mean, I didn't know if it was going to be a blowout. People like the spread was 8.5, and
I don't care about the spread. We're talking about.
I'm just saying in hindsight, right? But the Celtics, we had a big game from Jaylen Brown. Peyton Pritchard up 30 points, but the key moment from this game was the fact that Hugo Gonzalez at the end of the first overtime, he had a wide open shot which the defender kind of just left it open, which led it into double overtime. And the Celtics, they stepped up defensively at the second half and they ended up winning this game. And in my opinion, this was actually a Celtic home game in Barclays Center. There was so much Celtics fan. I did not see obviously I saw a Nets fan, but if you just looked out into the crowd, it was just a sea of green. There were "Let's go Celtic" chants. There were MVP chants for Jaylen Brown, and overall, it was just a great vibe. And I'm glad I went to this game.
Yeah, and then let's go into my 2 games for this week. We got the Raptors versus the OKC Thunder, and the Raptors won this game 103 to 101. Pretty much, it's what the game's plan has been for all these teams playing OKC. Play hard defense and move the ball against OKC, because in this game, we had almost everybody score in double figures on the entire team for the Raptors. And if they're playing like that, they're able to outscore the OKC Thunder, because honestly, they will lose. The OKC Thunder will continue to lose games if it's just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and no one else really helps. And that's what kind of happened in this game. Yeah, they still won it by 2 points, but Chet Holmgren didn't have a good game, and Jalen Williams didn't have a good game. So if those two are having good games, then yes, it's going to be extremely hard to beat them.
And but the Raptors, they're up and coming, and I believe they're third in the East right now, and they have potential.
Yeah, that I don't buy all of that shit, to be honest. But it's the Raptors at the end of the day. Bi Brandon Ingram. I don't think he's really a player to push them to the hump like that. I think this team is going to pretty much get out in the first round no matter what. They're doing really good to pretty much move the ball, but even if they get matched up with a team like Milwaukee or even like Orlando, I think they would lose that series honestly. But let's see how it goes for the Raptors. It's just going good for him. It's good for that coach Darko because it's going to be good for him to get confidence and continue to show that he has faith into this NBA team and to the owners that he can be the coach of this team in the future.
Right.
Next up, we got the Hawks versus the Pacers. This game is mostly I'm only going to be talking about the Pacers at this point. The Pacers, they're the worst team in the NBA. And it's obviously because, they don't have their star player Tyrese Halliburton. And it's crazy because you see such a huge drop off. The Pacers were in the NBA Finals last year, and now they're the worst team in the NBA. You can definitely see how much of a star player makes an impact on your team. And the crazy thing is, the Pacers, they still have a really good core, and they're all coming back next year. And because they're all young, they're all on low deals. And I think the Pacers need to start tanking so they can get that damn number one pick. And that damn number one pick is AJ Devonsa, and that dude is a monster. That he is going to be a problem. He reminds me of a bigger Anthony Edwards. That's what he is. That's what he plays like. True. He plays exactly like Anthony Edwards, and he's just 6'9", yeah. Anthony Edwards. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point? You add him to a team like that, and you move, let's say, what's his name, Neesmith to the bench, and you put him in that lineup? Boy, look at that fucking lineup with Tyrese Halliburton, Nembhard, that's your two guards, Devonsa, Siakam, and then your center. You're not Miles Turner anymore.
Yeah, they definitely need a center.
They need a center, but they have that dude Jay Huff. He's been getting a lot of points, and he's been doing really good for that team. So it might work, but that's basically what they need to do. On the Hawks side, the Hawks need to pretty much continue this run and try to make a run at the playoffs because on the Hawks side, in the way that you kind of did it, you decided that Jalen Johnson is going to be your star of the future because you traded away Trae Young. So you need to believe in Jalen Johnson. He hasn't been having a really good game recently, and hopefully he can catch fire because he was starting off the year really well. So let's see after All-Star break or what's going on, he could continue that run, and the Hawks can make it into a late upper seeds. I think they can definitely make it, and we'll see what the Hawks can do because they have the veteranness with CJ McCollum to see that can control that team as their team leader. But that kind of sums up our NBA recap for this week. All right, guys, now it's time to get into some quick MLB news, and I'll let Fardin go off with these MLB snippets that we got.
Yeah, so the Mets, they acquired Freddie Peralta, and quietly, they probably had the best offseason. They've made great moves. They brought in Devin Williams, they brought in Luke Weaver, a lot of former Yankees, as what they've been doing the last couple of years. But they also brought in Bo Bichette a couple of weeks ago. They brought in Marcus Semien. And don't look now, but the Mets, surprisingly, with the contract that Juan Soto has, they built a good team around them. Let's see how they do. They had too many infielders, but at the end of the day, I feel like they can make it work. Maybe they'll get somebody else. We don't know yet. But that's the team from Queens. As far as the team from the Bronx, they finally did something. I've been preaching for this for the last month or so, that they need to do something, whether that was bringing in another free agent or re-sign Cody Bellinger. And that's exactly what they did. They re-signed Cody Bellinger. But knowing them, they're probably going to be like, nah, this is it. We're probably not going to do anything else. But they need to do something else. I feel like they got to make a trade somewhere to get another superstar to pair with Judge. They have too many lefties on the team. And when you have too many lefties on the team, it kind of just backfires, especially when you're not going to be playing at Yankee Stadium all the time. Yeah, you have the short perch, but when you go into stadiums that have a deeper right field, it's not going to make sense for them to continue to use lefties. I believe outside of Judge, it's really just Giancarlo Stanton and Anthony Volpe. Obviously, yeah, we have Jose Caballero, but he's not our future shortstop, which Anthony Volpe is. And we technically don't have a first baseman right now. And in my opinion, Austin Wells, he's not going to be the future catcher as much as Ben Rice would. With that being said, I feel like they should have signed Pete Alonso, but I don't make these moves. But I'm glad they finally signed Cody Bellinger. It kind of proves that he's not a snake like Juan Soto was, and he deserves to be in the Bronx. But that's basically the MLB news at this point.
All right, guys, now it's time to the end of the show in our end segment, which is our sideline heel takes. And I'll let Fardin go off first because it's coming right off his MLB takes and his MLB news. So, Fardin, I'll let you go off first.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest question of this offseason and probably the next offseason is the fact that all of these teams like the Dodgers, the Mets, they've signed players to these contracts for years and a lot of money. And Major League Baseball is the only sport that does not have a salary cap. And in my opinion, my sideline heel take is they need to incorporate the salary cap. The number one thing is it definitely will improve competitiveness. Obviously, people are going to get bored or tired or fatigued of the Dodgers going back to the World Series every year. And they have the capabilities to get all of these big free agents. Obviously, they signed Kyle Tucker. And it kind of just makes it unfair at this point that out of the NL side, we don't really see another team. The only team that I see contending them with is the Mets. But even with the Mets, they don't have the same roster that the Dodgers have. They have the pitching staff. They have Shohei Ohtani. They just got Kyle Tucker. And at this point, they're probably going to go three-peat. And it's kind of unfair that these big market teams, they have the money to get the players, and they're not giving all of these smaller market teams that opportunity to get these players like the Athletics, the Rays, the Marlins, just to name a few. And by creating a salary cap, it'll definitely create more fun games, which is exciting to a sport unless if you don't watch it consistently because some people find baseball boring. And in my opinion, I love baseball. But when you're at a game, I can see where that logic comes into part where you feel bored as obviously, you got to wait for the pitches to be thrown. At the end of the day, when you have players out there that each team has where they have a superstar, it's going to be more fun to watch. And at the end of the day, this also relies on the front office of teams because it will require them to be smarter and better decision makers because when you have a limited amount of money to spend, you got to use it wisely. Like you're not going to see all of these players getting these outrageous contracts. I get it. Some players, they definitely deserve more money than others. But when a contract reaches $1 billion in a sport where it's not really globally accepted like soccer is, you have the international pool, but at the end of the day, a guy playing baseball should not be making 700, $800 million. Obviously they're gonna be playing. They play more than any other sport. That I understand. But this can definitely hurt MLB franchises, especially smaller market teams, where they want to bring in all of these players, but they can't because they're getting these lucrative contracts from teams that are making money. And in my opinion, I get it. It's the brand name image, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets. They have the capabilities and they've been doing it for damn near as long as their franchises have been around. And they've been the first few franchises where everybody knew that's why they have the money. And if the MLB decides to say, hey, we're going to incorporate the salary cap, it'll definitely give these smaller market teams like the Athletics, the Rays, who play in beautiful cities. Obviously, the Athletics, they're going to be going to Vegas soon. That's going to be a hot destination for people to go to. You have these Florida teams where I'm sure people want to go because of the nice weather throughout the whole year. They don't really got to go anywhere. And as well as teams like Cleveland, you have teams out there like Cincinnati, like the Ohio teams. Nobody really wants to play in Pittsburgh. You have Paul Skeens wasting his career there. He's probably going to end up moving on soon. But MLB, they need to incorporate the salary cap, and it just would change the game. At the end of the day, obviously, people are deferring money, and that's going to be another topic of conversation when it comes to the new CBA that's going to be applied. But if you incorporate this salary cap, it'll make the overall complexity of the game a lot more fun for people to watch, to enjoy, and probably get themselves into at this point.
Yeah, and listen, like I don't disagree with you honestly because you put a cap on it and you put people where and the teams were forced to make hard decisions and not just able to fucking sign anybody that they want. Right. Like think about it. If you had the Dodgers and you had Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, they both wanted to come to the Dodgers. You kind of like honestly, if the Dodgers wanted to, they could have gotten both of them. But with the salary cap, it forces them not to. They have to make a choice.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they should put like freaking 200 250 million like how the NFL has it. Like if like for example, the Yankees, the Dodgers, they're both worth 5 billion plus. They should have a salary cap of at least 400 million. And obviously both teams, their luxury payroll.
That's where it kind of gets unfair at that point because you're giving another team a higher salary cap versus another. Then it's very unfair.
But it also creates that wanting to go play for these teams because they're not like for example, I'll give you the best example right now. Bobby Witt Jr. is on the Kansas City Royals, and he's arguably a top 5 player in the MLB right now. And he signed a 10-year, $220 million contract because that's what the Royals could afford. But we know damn well he's definitely worth more than 220 mil. He's definitely worth of at least 400 plus, in my opinion. And he's not getting that from the Royals. You know?
Right. So like then I don't know because that's where it gets a little like tough because if you incorporate salary cap, then it's a cap that every team should be at, right? Because I feel like I feel like definitely owners are never going to agree. Be like, hey, that team has a bigger cap than us. Like that's not fair. There's definitely going to be issues with that.
That's where the decision making comes into play because, like for example, if Aaron, like let's just say a salary cap of 400 million per year, right? Aaron Judge makes 40. That's already 10% of the salary cap. But we know that he's deserving of that money. When you have Shohei Ohtani making 70 million off of 40 million, that's what? That's roughly 40%, 35-40% of the salary cap. That's just kind of unfair. And I'm not saying baseball players deserve less money, but
Right.
it's just more competitiveness for other teams to get involved. Like I want to see eventually the Marlins make the playoffs. I want to see the Rays eventually make the playoffs. It just creates better like competitiveness, you know?
Yeah, and then the thing is, well, the one thing about the MLB is now they started to incorporate and listen to all these new rules and all these new things that are being implemented. Because back then they would never bat an eye, and the old management and the old commissioners
a matter of ownership, the racism that was back in the day. We don't have that now, and we need to get with the times at this point.
So yeah, let's see if the MLB does decide to do that. But next, let's go into my sideline heel take, and my sideline heel take is coming right off the NFL. So the NFL playoffs have just ended pretty much at this point, and it's just one of the things that I feel like a lot of people and a lot of fans had a lot of opinions about is the seedings and the way that the teams are set up in the NFL. And I think one good thing would be let's try to do an NFL seeding change and let's mix up the NFL playoffs, I think, honestly, because you had the same playoffs doing this forever. I think if you mix it around, you can get a lot of interesting matchups and a lot of interesting games. So first things, I think you should reseed the NFL playoffs by record and not division titles. Because think of it this way, division winners still make it, but they just don't automatically get to host the games. Because if you're doing it based off a record, you had a lot more games. Why wouldn't you be able to have the home advantage versus the divisional winner? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just I just feel like that's not a little bit of fair because why else would you win all those damn games then if you're just gonna end up not being a division like you don't get to host it. For example, a 12-win team shouldn't have to travel to a 9-win team because of geography, right? We've seen that a few times where okay, for example, we had a 12-win team versus a 9-win team, but that 9-win team won their divisional, right?
It's like the Rams and the Panthers this year.
Exactly. Like, why the hell would the Rams have to travel to the damn Panthers? Like, it just makes no sense.
Fly across the country for no reason at that point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just made no sense to me, especially when I watched that game. I'm like, the Rams have a better record than them, but they gotta fly to go to Carolina to play them. Like, it made no sense to me. Next up, if the regular season really matters, then prove it in January. And that's exactly where you want to see it. If you do the seeding changes by record, then you know that all these later games, for example, after week 14, a lot of these games are whatever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you change the seedings by record, all those games are going to matter to the very damn end because one, the NFL is very limited in games versus a lot of other sports. So those games matter even more. I think honestly, home playoff games should be earned and not inherited. That goes basically off of the geography and the 12-win team. But overall, with the seeding change, you can have better matchups, fewer fraud teams, and less fan outrage. Because I know a lot of fans get upset that their teams, they like the way that they get matchups. Sometimes they're like, "Oh shit, we're stuck with the 1 seed now at this point." Versus you guys were in the wild card and you're the bottom team on the wild card and you fought your way and you play the damn 1 seed. It's just like, all right, we're getting eliminated already at this point. So it's like if you switch up it by the seedings at this point, I think it's definitely a way that you can make the NFL playoffs even more interesting than it already is. And bottom line, I think reward the best teams, not the luckiest divisions. And we have some pretty lucky divisions this year. In my opinion, honestly, like if you think about it, every year we have a division where it's just like, okay, like none of these teams are really that good, but they all make the damn playoffs, right? It's just like, because think about it, like the NFC, like what in your opinion, what is the weakest division right now?
The NFC South.
The NFC South, right?
Yeah.
So like and who won the NFC South this year? The Bucks,
No,
right?
the Panthers.
Sorry, the Panthers, right? They beat out the Bucks, right? But the Bucks didn't have a full healthy team too. That's another case, but that's a different story. But honestly, think about it this way: would you rather have them in it, or you could have had another team on another division make it besides the Panthers? I would have had a different team in there. Honestly, it was a better record.
Think about it. For example, like the Lions, they had the same record as the Panthers. So did the Vikings, and all four NFC North teams, they had potential to make the playoffs.
Exactly, and they didn't get to because of the chance of, like, obviously, like, they didn't win their division, but that's why if you're able to do it by record, by seedings, I think it'd be making it a lot more interesting, these playoffs, and the matchups would be very interesting to see as well. But overall, that's my sideline heel take. I think playoff seedings in the future should definitely be reworked.
Yeah, like I feel like we need a more concise divisional realignment also, in my opinion. Obviously, they've been talking about it in baseball because it makes it a lot easier for teams to travel within their own division. But if you think about it, why the hell are the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East when they're in the Midwest, South Midwest? That makes no sense to me. Like, how are the Indianapolis Colts part of the NFC South when they're more north than the Dallas Cowboys? Like, the logic just isn't there. Like, if you could get a better divisional realignment coinciding with the fact that you can make a reseeding capabilities, like how they do it in the NBA, because you have the top 8 teams making the division, you have 7 teams in the NFL. It kind of makes sense to do it, a reseeding where the top teams are at the top. Yeah, you'll have the division winners like they do in basketball, and they should follow that similar thing. I'm not saying they should have like a play-in tournament or anything like that. Like, that's what the wild card is for. So I totally agree with you. Having a reseeding thing for teams, like, for example, the Rams should have definitely hosted a playoff game against the Panthers, you know, at the end of the day. But we don't make the rules, but the rules need to be changed. And then I feel like the NFL needs to really take into consideration.
I think one other way that they could possibly do it is, if you do it that way, you got to add 2 NFL teams, and you make it like a 32 NFL league, like the NBA.
It is able to do it. So 30. You want 34 teams?
I mean, sorry, 34 teams. Yeah. So like, if you do 34 teams, then you're able to rework like a lot of these divisions. Like you said, like some of these teams wouldn't be able to.
The math wouldn't math. It would need to be 36 teams then.
Oh yeah, well they're not going to add that many different teams then. But
yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like the way that it's fine. Like the way that they have it now is whatever. But like you said, if you want to change up the people and the teams that are in whatever divisions, that could be pretty interesting as well. And you can have, like, for example, you switch the Colts and the Cowboys. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, like you could have, like, for example, in the AFC East, so to speak, you could have the Bills, the Jets, the Giants, and the Patriots. That's your 4 because they're all in the East.
Yeah.
NFC North. I feel like the NFC North is the most accurate division in football.
Yeah.
And the NFC West. And the NFC West. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But based on geography,
let's see how it goes, because I don't know, the NFL, they tend to try to like maybe do some different things as well. And I don't know, like, let's see if it's obviously this playoffs, the way that's been scheduled and created, has been like this forever. But I don't know, you see the NBA making changes, you see the MLB making changes. I don't think the NFL has really done really big changes in that sense yet. And it's they kind of maybe due for one.
But they've also been talking about like adding international teams, which in my opinion, I feel like that should be like its own separate league.
I think that's something that we can get into another day to debate about, because I think adding international teams, especially like it's an actual week where you have to travel.
Yeah, like imagine that's ridiculous. Imagine the Los Angeles Rams or the Chargers going out to like London or some shit like twice, you know?
No, that's ridiculous. I think that's so ridiculous, honestly. And if you have, like, for example, like you have the games in Mexico City and stuff, like, I don't know. I just think that international teams shouldn't be a thing, but it's good that they have these international games.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much wraps up our sideline heel take for this week and our episode for this week. And next week, we're going to be talking about exactly our Super Bowl predictions. We're going to be talking about who we think is going to win the Super Bowl, and the ride to get to that point. Because obviously, the NFL, we covered it from day one, from the very beginning. And we're going to talk about the rise positives, the negatives, and what's going to be the outcome of the Super Bowl for both teams. And also, we're going to be discussing, as usual, our NBA favorite two games. And in terms of WWE, we got Royal Rumble coming off of it. We got Raw coming off of it. And it's pretty much, I think it's going to be two loaded shows because obviously it's the Royal Rumble. And then I think Raw and SmackDown, for those, they're going to be pretty big shows because they're going to be setting up what's going forward. Yeah. So those are all going to try to cover here. And whatever other news and notes that happen, I know we got some NFL news that are continuing to swirl out, but any other big news, we'll pretty much cover it. And that kind of wraps up our episode for this week. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.